Ugh. Hello, ladies, gentlemen, others. I'm just doing a little quick update video right now. Why am I so out of breath? What the hell? Basically, as some of you may have noticed, I've been gone for like 4 months. And this is because I've been very busy and I've had school, but also because I've been a bit depressed and not had much motivation to work on videos. And like I said in the introductory video, I'm so puffed out. Just need to catch my breath for a second. Like I said in the introductory video to this channel, I don't really want it to be a chore. I want it to be for fun, and so if I don't feel like doing it, I'm not gonna. And so that's why I was gone for 4 months. But in this 4 months, I've actually done a lot of fun stuff. First of all, I got an early offer for university, which is a thing we have in Australia, and I don't know what the equivalent would be in America. So next year I'm going to be studying linguistics, which is hype. I am slightly worried though, because all of the linguists I've spoken to who are are familiar with me and my linguistic ability have told me that I'm going to find the first year kind of boring because it's all foundational linguistics and the basics. Linguistics is one of those fields where you study something that's essential to everyday life and you sort of have to fundamentally change your perception of it. And so it takes a long time to do an introduction to linguistics, and I worry that I'm going to be zoning out in that time. And I also worry that it might put me off of linguistics, because, there's a big difference between doing something for school and doing something as a passion. So what I'm planning on doing throughout that first year, where I'm doing school I'm doing linguistics at uni that might be a little easy for me, comparatively speaking. I don't mean to sound like I'm some kind of genius, but to just make sure that I still enjoy doing linguistics. I'm probably going to be doing more focus on this channel and, working on some of the bigger projects that I've had planned for a little while. And most of my videos in the history of this channel have been just me sitting somewhere in my auntie and uncle's backyard and rambling to a camera in my pajamas. And I'm not saying that that's bad content, but I'm just saying there may be an increase in production value. Or not necessarily production value, but just general effort put into videos. About a month into this big hiatus, I tried to make 2 videos, but the recordings, the audio on them sucked, and I had one of those autistic moments where I get really upset over something that I really logically shouldn't be so upset over. So I abandoned those 2 video ideas, and I'll probably make them at a later date anyway, but that was very disheartening. And so I sort of recorded this big long video after those 2 failed attempts. I just saw the reflection of a bird in my phone screen, I'm sorry. After those 2 failed attempts, I had recorded an hour-long discussion of the evolution of a group of Western Australian languages, historical linguistics kind of thing. And I'd done all this research and I'd put all this effort into writing, and I think that's bird shit on my pants. That's not good. But I put a ton of effort into it. I even got a banging outfit for the video and everything. Well, I didn't get the outfit for the video, but I put on an outfit for the video. And I usually wear pajamas to record this stuff, so that's wild by my standards. I put a lot into this video, and then not only was it very difficult to edit, which isn't that's not an insurmountable problem in and of itself, but about halfway through editing this video, this quite long, intensive video looking into the historical linguistics of these Australian languages, I got an internship at a language centre in Geraldton, which was awesome. I did the internship with these 2 linguistics students from the uni that I'm going to be going to, who were 2nd and 3rd year, and I knew more about the local languages, and I think, just quietly, linguistics in general than either of them. Which feels mean to them. I do want to give them credit, because it's not like they were idiots or anything, but it's just that I've just... Oh no, the video on my computer looks like it's corrupting. No, the problem just then, it seems, was that I fell for one of the classic blunders. What the hell is that, bird poo? Oh, it's a slug. Why is there a slug on my bed? I don't want there to be a slug on my bed. That sucks. I'm gonna move him. I hope he crawls onto this tissue. No, of course he won't. He's a slug. You can feel like the vibrations. I'm just gonna move him onto the tissue. I don't want to like grab him. He's a little slug. I could like squish him. Oh no! What if slugs are like one of those animals that like what's fart out their guts when they're scared? No, this is dangerous. This is a big situation. Yeah. Come on, moron. That was terrifying. You must have come in on my leg or something because I've just been outside. The slug has been vanquished. It's not true. I put him outside in the garden. Anyway, I was at this internship and it was the best thing. I got to like consolidate a lot of what I'd learnt about Indigenous Australian languages. I got to talk to like actual people who'd studied them, like this guy Callan who'd done his masters on Indigenous languages, and like I got to meet all these people who not only knew a lot about the community side of Aboriginal linguistics, of like language revitalization and everything like that, but also people who knew a lot about the technical linguistic aspects of them. Should be looking up there, not down there. But no, people who knew a lot about all of this stuff, and it was great. Just a great experience to go in and like learn all of this stuff and consolidate what I did know. But one small downside to this internship is that I found out exactly how much I don't know about Australian languages. And, well, not just about Australian languages. I found out that I knew a lot about Australian languages, but I found out how much I don't know about historical linguistics in Australia, because I found out that a lot of the research that's been done on historical linguistics in Australia is quite contested. And if not contested, done using a method which is more broadly contested throughout linguistics. And so this whole video that I'd made about the historical linguistics of these languages, I suddenly found out, no, this is a lot more contested than I think, and also I'm not really qualified to talk about it, considering how contested it is and how really complex all of this stuff actually is. And so that video got scrapped. Even though one day I'll probably make it, but it'll involve a lot more research and it'll be a much bigger project than I originally thought, just because I want to actually get correct information out there rather than half correct. The general like thing I'm going for with this channel is, if I can't get lots of fully correct information, I would rather have less correct information than the same amount of half correct information, if that makes sense. Like if I'm trying to make a video on something and I don't really know, I'm not really certain on like 50% of the video, I would rather cut that 50% than have a video where I'm uncertain about half of it. But that leads me on to another thing that I wanted to talk about, which is just oh shit, I haven't been recording audio this whole time. You've just been hearing me through my computer's shitty microphone. Alright, sorry about that. So that's one study, once I get into linguistics, as an academic, that I really want to do, is I want to do a study of Australian languages. I'll start with West Australian languages, but I might go out from there, just based off of the comparative method rather than the lexicostatistical method, just, in hopes of getting that higher degree of accuracy that you get from the comparative method. Another study I want to do is based off of the dialects of English that you find in Western Australia, and particularly not just in Western Australia, but in everywhere around Australia, in rural communities, and especially in majority Aboriginal communities. You find these dialects of English that are spoken by people without a good access to education, just in generally speaking, without a good access to education, and so they don't learn English in the same standardized way that most other people do. And what ends up happening in these areas is you get dialects of English and ways of speaking, ways of using words and ways of using grammar that are unseen everywhere else, because the people essentially have like half of a language that they just pick up from around them, and then everything else they sort of make up. I've spoken about this in my video where I talk about how people speak in my hometown of Jafton. of how people would say them twos and beat. Instead of beaten, they'd say bait, and instead of written, they'd say writ. If you go around to all these rural areas and all these majority indigenous communities, you find all of these, grammatical and phonological and like lexical features of English that you don't find anywhere else in the world. And of course, since they are spawned from a lack of education, there tends to be a lot of stigma associated with them. And I definitely think that stigma is misplaced. I mean, frankly, I think any form of discrimination based off of class is misplaced. But anyway, as a consequence of this stigma, not a lot of research has been put into these dialects, which I think is a shame because there's a lot of really interesting and unique features in them that just go, they fly under the radar because no one bothers to study them. Like, for example, Aboriginal Australian English from around Adelaide and from around, places in coastal South Australia are some of the only Australian accents that have rhoticity, where they pronounce the R's. And even then, it's not, they pronounce the R's everywhere. They only pronounce them in certain conditions. And that's really interesting. But since it's an Aboriginal dialect, not only does it not get good publicity and tends to have a lot of stigma associated with it, but it also just doesn't get the research that it deserves. We're going through a period of massive dialectal homogenization in English at the moment because of the internet and interconnectivity and globalization and all that. And so in 50 years, all of these unique dialect features could be gone. And I think it's very important that we go out now, as soon as possible, and go out there and study them and learn from them and about them. And one last thing I want to do that wouldn't so much be a study, but more of a project, is I want to make sort of an atlas of Australian English, because in terms of Australian English's phonology and sort of in-depth phonological analysis of it, there's only really been one big resource that covers the entire country, and it costs $150, which is too expensive for me. I can't afford that. And I think the majority of people who are interested in linguistics, but not to the point of it's their career, if they want to learn about Australian English and about its geography and everything, that's going to be a massive roadblock because the one big resource costs $150, And it's not like American English or British English where you have all of these online archives of, different regions and their different dialects, or you have, these online, not open source, that's a coding term, but these open access online resources where you can learn all about the dialects. Australian English doesn't really have that, and so that's one thing I'd really like to work on, over the years. It'd surely take decades, but that's just one project that I really want to work on, just because I think there's a big, accessibility problem with finding good information about the nuances and minutiae of Australian English. I think that information about Australian English should be accessible to the general public. Alright, that's been my little update /ramble. Have a nice week.